All right, guys. It's a new day, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't particularly want to make this. I'm kind of excited, but I had some resistance. Make it stick. I think some of the reasons I had resistance is because 25 minutes, it's a decent amount of time. It's not a ton, but that's why I chose it. I think I can stay consistent on. So another one is maybe I'm going way too slow. What is the optimal speed for learning? So I'm gonna add another question to my list of ongoing questions. What is the optimal speed for learning? Like reading books, etc. Like how fast should I example? How fast should I go? How fast should I go through a book? I don't know if there's going to be a blanket answer, but at least the question's now been posed. So now I'm in Anki, and I'm going to check my deck. Of course, I know what it is. It's about basically what does Make It Stick about in a few words, and then what are the 8 chapters. So Make It Stick is a book about the science of learning, modern science of learning. And the 8 chapters are: learning is misunderstood, to learn, retrieve, mix up your practice, embrace difficulties, avoid illusions of knowing, get beyond learning styles, increase abilities, and finally, make it stick. So, yep, got it right. Exactly. So the next time I'll see that card is in 6 days now. So you see, and then the time after that will be way longer even. So there we go. That's locked in. Locked into place. Now, yesterday, well, I guess we'll do a little recall just quickly. I don't know if I can do a recall every time. I'm never going to make it through this book, but we read the preface, the inner flaps, the outer flaps, the cover, and the preface. And basically what I took away is this book is the result of a bunch of cognitive scientists coming together to take all the cognitive science and then apply it to and help bring it to education and teaching in the school system, right? There's going to be interleaving and space repetitions built into this book. Talked about the 2 cognitive scientists and the writer trio for this book. Learning being misunderstood and not always intuitive. And yeah, so today, I think that was good. I got a pace. We're going to start with the first section, the intro, a couple paragraphs of the first chapter, Learning is Misunderstood. So I'm going to read this, and maybe I'll take some notes from the book, maybe not. But when I'm done, I'm going to come back and then recall. All right, guys, just read that first page and a half, essentially the first chapter, the intro. And basically what I just read was a little story about a pilot whose right engine oil pressure was going down, and basically he was watching this happen and be like, okay, what are my options? Okay, this, that. Eventually he decides okay, there's gonna be a problem. I need to kill the right engine. I'm flying a double propped Cessna. He's running through the Cessna facts he knows. He's okay, with one engine, the best I can do with a loaded plane is land or reduce fall time, and yeah, basically maneuvered and landed safely with only one engine. And basically they use this story at the intro of the book to illustrate what they see as learning, and the way they see learning is it's not just memorizing facts. It's being able to remember these things we've learned, but also to then be able to apply them to novel problems and to see new opportunities. So be able to take these things in, but then also use them to change the way you see the world, the way you interface with the world, solve problems, etc. That's how they see learning, and that's not what it was, but that's how I see learning. So that's probably why I saw it. But hopefully me and the authors are on the same page of this, is being able to take it in, remember it, but then use it in situations, right? Not just be able to get it right on a test, but actually to apply it to your real life when it's important. And so after that little story, then they go into basically saying what do they do? They kind of say what learning kind of is. That's what I just said, yeah. Story, then that kind of what learning is, And then finally, they go into basically they call it the three immutable aspects of learning. And I kind of see that as like these are, when we're trying to define learning, they're saying these things are unchanging. These things are like, yeah, everyone can agree upon these things in learning. And so one of them is that learning requires memory. Without memory, you can't say you've learned anything. So you need memory to be able to, retain this information and skills or whatever it may be. That's one. The second, unchanging aspect of learning or immutable or, everyone agrees upon aspect of learning. The second one is I'm forgetting this one now. The third one is learning is a skill. It's an acquired skill, and that the most effective learning techniques are not intuitive, aka they are counterintuitive. So if you don't acquire the skill of learning, you're going to use less than the most optimal learning strategies in your approach to learning. What is the second one though? What would everyone agree upon in learning? Learning, it requires memory. Here it is. The second one is that learning is required in life. You can't progress in life without learning. You can't get past, grade school, middle school, high school without learning what you knew, you needed to learn in the past. And in a job to progress, you need to learn new skills and master new job skills and learn how to deal with difficult people. So learning is required for life, and that learning gives an advantage in life. If you're a better learner than someone else in life, it gives you an advantage. So that's the second one. All right, that's that section. Let's jump into the next section. I believe it is, well, shoot, now I didn't recall those today. Let's recall them right now. And then I'll throw it in Anki, because I think this will be good to just straight up memorize the schema of this book so that I can talk about these points and they have somewhere to attach. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm building a branch or the branches, and then I'm putting on the details. And then hopefully when I recall the branch, I'll remember some of the details. So there's 5 headings in or 5 subdivisions of chapter 1, which is learning is misunderstood. And that is, man, I'm blanking them now. The second one is empirical evidence versus lore, theory, and intuition. This first one is claims we make in this book. Second one is the one I just mentioned. There's 3 within empirical evidence, etc. There's 3 subdivisions, but I'll get to that in a second. The third one is, the fourth one is testing, dipstick versus learning tool. Third one is knowledge, not sufficient but necessary. And then 5 is the takeaways. The takeaway, I mean. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to put that into Anki. All right, got that all entered into Anki, and now we're going to start the next section. I don't know if I'll be able to get through it, so I'll be taking notes in the book for sure, just so I can be able to recall it tomorrow. And that is claims we make in this book. And this one is about 6 pages, so I'll read this, and if I get to it, shoot, how much time do I got? All right, I'm not even gonna go, I only literally read a half page, but I got to 3 of the points, 3 of the claims the authors make in this book. And first of all, one of the central arguments they actually said in this book is that learning is an acquired skill, and that learning is an acquired skill, right? It was the third point of they called it immutable aspects of learning, which they said everyone can agree on, and then they're like, well, you may not agree with the last point, which is that learning is an acquired skill, that the most productive and most effective learning techniques are not intuitive, aka they're counterintuitive. And so here's the first 3 claims they made in the book, they're going to make in this book. And the first one is that there's a direct relationship with effort and learning. And the more effortful learning is, the deeper it is and the longer lasting it is. And that easy learning, easy when it feels easy, that's actually like they use an analogy of writing in the sand. It's here today and gets washed away by tomorrow. So, direct relationship between learning and effort. That's the first claim of the book. The second claim of the book is that we're poor judges of when we're learning and when we're not. When we think we're learning well, we might actually not be, and very often we probably aren't, according to the author's argument, and that, or claim, and that when the going gets rough and you feel like you're not making progress, that actually is when you're learning the most. And I hope that's true, because the past couple of days for guitar, I've been like really pissed because it doesn't seem like I'm getting it. But the claim 3, rereading and mass practice are among the most preferred learning techniques of all learners, and yet they are among the least effective learning techniques. And this one is so hard because they say mass practice is skill. Yet I just listened to a Huberman podcast about skill acquisition, and that like massing practice, the maximum amount of reps within a period of time is the greatest way to learn motor skills. And so I think my claim is that I agree with them. Rereading is not effective and mass practice is not effective in most cases, except when it's a small motor skill chunk, such as a 5-second piece on a piano or guitar piece that is just super intricate, right? That's just my thinking. And so I've been using that strategy recently, and it seems like I'm making very good progress. The problem is the authors say that that's not effective. They say it's very ineffective and it's not going to last. So, hey man, I'm a walking experiment, and that I am actually the one that's making the claim that mass practice and rereading is ineffective, except if it's a small motor chunk of a skill, a small motor skill. That's just mine. That's just my opinion at this current moment. That's my claim at this current moment. Maybe it goes beyond that. Maybe it's not effective, but the timer just went off. But yeah, I think it's an oversimplified claim, and that if these authors actually were in the field, so to say, like me, I'm in the field with the guitar, and the guitar is an experimentation ground, and where I'm like using spaced repetitions and varied practice and early practice, and yet it doesn't feel like I'm making very much progress over a long span of time. And I start practicing small chunks according to the Huberman method, the neurological method, because there's a difference between the cognitive scientists' approach to learning and the neuroscientists' approach to learning and understanding learning. They're similar. They should be the same, really. The truth is this truth. So hard to say, man. It's hard to say if what I'm doing is actually effective or not. It feels effective, but what they're saying is we're poor judges, and when it feels effective and easy, that's when it's not. And I'm not saying it's easy. To grind these things over and over again when you're not getting it is very frustrating. I will say that. It's very difficult. But that's where we're going to end it today. 25 minutes. We are officially like 2 hours into reading this book, and we are now on page 3.5. So stick with me for the next 10 years of your life, and maybe someday you'll have some semblance of how to actually learn anything. All right, guys. That's it for today. I'll talk to you later.